Could there be a black swan event in 2024? So, Patty, welcome aboard.
To you and everybody out there listening. I hope everyone's as excited as we are because there's a lot going on.
Yes, there is. There is. And I believe there's opportunity. And, if there's a black swan event, if negative stuff happens, there's always a positive thing that you can glean for it.
Absolutely. All the more reason to be prepared.
And that's exactly it.
Informed.
That's right. Being prepared and being informed. I think it was Lion King that they told his son, be prepared. Remember?
Exactly.
Was that Pumbaa?
It was Pumbaa.
Yeah.
And don't say we don't get our information from the highest source.
For the highest sources. Yeah. We weren't even downwind of Pumbaa. So it's all you'd have to see Lion King, folks. Hey, Don, how are you doing? I hope the family's doing great. I'm just talking to people on Facebook as well as we're doing the show. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Greg Ellie of the Prosperity Group. And today's show, we are talking about a potential of a black swan event. 2023 was a bit strange. 2024 may be stranger. I hope not. I hope things improve. But folks, you have to be prepared. And if we've learned anything about what happened during COVID in 2023 is preparation. So folks, you can reach us at 1-800-440-0434 or go to mymoneyissafe.com. Patty, why don't you jump right in and talk about what we are seeing, some of the statements that we've heard recently by some news pundits and so forth that has talked about a black swan event. I think there was a lady on Face the Nation recently, and she talked about that. I don't know if you have that information handy.
And that's when I really became informed, is when you asked me about that. I did not see that Face the Nation airing, but yes, a lady did talk about it. She was on Face the Nation, and hold on, I'm trying to get this right here, 2024. But this is the article, but it has her name nowhere. Face the Nation's Christmas Eve episode has this one advertiser covered in Goosebumps that Herridge, that is her name. I think her first name's Catherine Herridge, Herridge.
Okay.
She predicts in 2024 that the U.S. may have a national security event with high impact that's very hard to predict, pointing to ongoing wars and U.S. division as factors creating fertile ground for our adversaries like North Korea, China, and Iran take advantage of.
Wow.
But that's it. You know how we like to kid you that you love rabbit holes?
Who, me?
Yeah, you. Yeah, that sent me on, down several rabbit holes where I put in, then I was like, oh, put in Black Swan event. And she is not the only one saying this.
Right. Who else is saying it, Patty?
There is a gentleman out of Clearwater, Florida, that is a well-known entrepreneur. What's another word? But anyway.
Right. Entrepreneur.
Entrepreneur is definitely one word, but entrepreneur, investor, etc. And his name is Gary Cardone.
Yes, yes.
And he is, to listen to this man, and you can hear him on Finbold. I had never heard of Finbold, but Finbold has interviewed him, and it's a phenomenal interview. I'm just at 45 minutes, 50 minutes into it of an hour and a half interview with him.
Okay.
About the world events, the status, et cetera, what he sees. And the first 24 minutes are devoted to talking about the Black Swan event and what he sees. It's really uncertainty in the world.
Right.
And one thing that rang true to me, because for me to remember specifics, I have to write it down. But what rang true to me, and that we talk about all the time, and to hear it from someone that has made billions of dollars for himself and others, is someone that said he doesn't have faith in anything that doesn't make sense and he cannot understand. And what is doing that is the way that the market continues to go up.
Right.
And there's no reason for it.
Right.
He said, I cannot have faith in that. I cannot have faith. And he made a point, and I wrote this down that I found fascinating, that when 9/11 happened, before all the propping up of the government, when 9/11 happened, the stock market went down 27% in 10 days.
Right.
when the Israeli attack happened, the stock market went up 2%. He said that does not make sense. He said that is fundamentally unexplainable.
Right, right. So true.
Mm-hmm. And he believes that this year that there will be that he believes that we will be in a war. He believes that by March or April of this year, that we will know if it's actually World War III.
Wow.
He said scarier than that to him is whether or not we will even have an election.
If we, yeah, yeah. No, that's true.
So he is concerned. He said worse than a war will be if we don't even have an election. So
Yeah, but there's no election fraud. There's nothing out of the ordinary.
yeah, right. But he was down. I mean, we're focused on America because we're Americans, obviously.
Right.
But he also talked about with the Ukraine's what has happened there, and with 22 million Ukrainians flooding
Patty,
the European market.
We ran out of time. We forgot to look at the clock. Well, folks, listen, we are out of time. We forgot to look at the clock, but what does time matter anyway? So, folks, give us a call at 800-440-0434 or go to mymoneyissafe.com. Call us at 1-800-440-0434. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to learn where you can add over 20% to 40% into your 45% into your retirement account, give us a call right now before the rates start dropping, because I anticipate that to take place to try to stimulate the market. I think it'll be too little too late. But if you want to learn how to add significant amount of cash into your retirement accounts, call us at 800-440-0434. Go to mymoneyissafe.com.
It's a Prosperity Minute with Greg Ellie and the Prosperity Group in Sarasota.
This is Greg Ellie of the Prosperity Group. And if you're 59 and a half, did you know that you can do what's called an in-service rollover with your 401k? Most plans allow this. Why should you do this? Well, if the market loses 40%, you've got $500,000 in your 401k, you're down to $300,000. Let me show you a way to protect your 401k by doing the in-service rollover, and we'll transfer that asset into something that's safe, guaranteed will give you a reasonable rate of income. Give us a call.
Safe money strategies from the Prosperity Group include retirement planning, wealth management, tax planning, and estate and legacy planning. The Prosperity Group online at mymoneyissafe.com or call 800-440-0434. That's mymoneyissafe.com or call 800-440-0434.
AM 860, The Answer, and Wired Differently present author and Salem National Talk Show host Sebastian Gorka, live at another great Corona cigar event in Tampa, Tuesday evening, March 19th. Dr. Gorka, a member of the Trump administration, Fox News, and Newsmax, talks about politics and life over some of the world's finest Corona cigars. Also an appearance by renowned speaker Todd Saylor. Don't miss Sebastian Gorka at the Corona Cigar Company on Boy Scout Road in Tampa. Get tickets now at theanswertampa.com.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-353-2973 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-353-2973. That's 800-353-2973. What do you have to lose? Call 800-353-2973. Again, 800-353-2973.
This is an encore presentation of the Prosperity Hour with Greg Ellie.
Come bring me your softness. Comfort me through all this madness. Jesus, I know with you I'm born again.
Come give me your sweetness. Now there's you, there is no weakness. Resting safe within your arms, I'm born again.
Welcome back, listeners. The song that you heard is a song that I recorded with my late wife Marie back in 1987. It's called "With You I'm Born Again," and it was actually we first started singing it in 1982. It was written and sung by Billy Preston and Sarita. Very powerful song. It talked about his experience when he accepted God and how with his wife, they literally were born again. So it's kind of a testimonial song, very, very powerful song. So we made it kind of our testimonial song. So it was the first song that we actually put on our, what do we call it? An album, a CD, a cassette. It was a cassette back then. So we didn't even have albums. We were modern. We went to cassettes and it was digitally recorded. And folks, I'm going to make you aware of where you can get some of these recordings because we're going to be putting it. I've had a lot of requests where people are trying to access the music. And in fact, I'm going to be doing something more with the music. So stay tuned on that. And so folks, you can reach us at 1-800-440-0434. That's 1-800-440-0434. You can go to mymoneyissafe.com. I appreciate the folks at Salem Broadcasting, Dennis Prager, Mike Gallagher, all of the people that have been sponsors or have endorsed the Prosperity Group, through commercials and things of that nature. So I want to say hello to Tom. Tom, thanks for tuning in again. Yeah. And we've got a lot of folks. So when you hear us talking, we are on Facebook Live. So you can get a Prosperity Group on Facebook Live as well. And if you have any questions and if you give us a like, thumbs up, that's always helpful. So, and share it with your friends. So I really appreciate that. Patty, there's a lot of stuff that's going on. And you were talking about this gentleman that, he's saying that there's something coming up and that we need to be prepared. And he's probably a lot smarter than we are,
He has definitely been doing it a long time, and does seem to be extremely knowledgeable. He follows, like we do, the world events.
Right.
Because we are a product of it. We are affected by it. Used to be way back in the day, if you wanted to buy an international stock, you would buy a stock that was from whatever country, A, B, C, or D.
Right.
But we are so connected now to where Coca-Cola is one of the best international stocks because, Coke is in every nation.
Coke is it.
Coke is it. But all that to say is that we to think that you are not being affected by what's going on in the world, that your money's not being affected by what's going on in the world, or that it will be affected, would be a disservice to yourself for us not to say that that is not the case.
Patty, I had a friend of mine. I have a friend of mine. He's on Wall Street. He's very successful in Wall Street. He's about 43, 44 years old. He used to be one of my tennis students. He told me that Wall Street typically tries to be 6 months ahead.
Oh, yeah.
With things that are going on. So a true black swan event like 9/11, like the 2008, and then more recently was COVID. You realize the Dow went down to 17,000? It went down to 17,000.
27%.
27% in just a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe our strategy is very simple. With the Prosperity Plan, your first step is to save money plan. You want that foundation. You want to build that house on a rock so that if something comes around that you're not going to be devastated. I think the people that are the most vulnerable are the ones that are 100% hook, line in the market, like a sinker in the market, and all of a sudden something like this happens. Now, if it comes back, great. But what if it doesn't come back for a while? Then what happens to their retirement window? So, we told a client, and I had a conversation with him. We told a client, Greg, I want to, leave X amount in the 401k. We're going to do the in-service rollover. Right? He's averaged 3%. He's on the happy 3%. And
teach you to be a man.
And he goes, but my account's gone up. And so we did an analysis. I said, well, your count went up because of the last 3 months that occurred and your contributions. Do you know the difference? He doesn't look at it that way. Okay. And that's fine. I said, so keep doing what you're doing. At least he's got a safe bucket of money that he's averaged 3% on.
Absolutely.
But what he also didn't catch is not only does he get the 3% because of the enhancements, he's making almost 8%, and he can trigger income that's guaranteed for him and his wife. So he gets it, but in his mind, it's like human nature. We want the best that we can, and we think it's going to be there for good. But what happens if there is a black swan event? And again, the reason I'm bringing it up is I saw this lady on Face the Nation. She talked about it, and other people are talking about it. And you brought up a good point. The war in Israel, the market went up. It's insane. Now, I was looking at something, and I can't remember what the source was. They were saying we are on the verge of World War III, and that World War III could happen right away.
This gentleman feels the same thing.
This Cardone guy?
Cardone, he sure does.
Okay.
He
Tell me
predicts.
his name again for the benefit of our listeners.
I love it when you do this to me.
I know, especially when you move the stuff.
I know. Yes, it is Gary. And the reason I have a hard time with it is because I used to work for a gentleman, and his last name was very similar to Cardone, and I want to say his name. But anyway, Gary Cardone.
Right.
And he's an interesting man in himself.
Very light,
but
very light here.
he does. He
Yeah.
predicts that by March, he predicts that we will be in a war, definitely, this year. By March or April, he predicts that we will know if it is truly
Wow.
World War III.
Right.
Getting
But he
light.
said that's not the worst thing that he sees this year. What he thinks would be worse than
Light
that
spot is getting dark.
did not have an election, which he thinks is very possible.
You know, let's look at some scenarios and let's address that for a second. And by the way, folks, you can reach us at 1-800-440-0434. That's 1-800-440-0434. Or you can go to mymoneyissafe.com. Patty, if we let's look at a potential scenario here. What happens if all of a sudden they say, well, you know what, due to national security, we're declaring martial law, and there's going to be no election because there's too much unrest for the country. What do you think will happen? You know, I've just got somebody making a comment on Facebook. He says civil war.
Well, funny you should say that because, again, I keep quoting this Cardone dude.
Uh-huh.
But one of his quotes is, this is verbatim, when the red politicians and the blue politicians can't agree on what pencil to use, we're pretty much at war. We just don't have muskets pointed at each other. We have pencils.
Well,
So the reference to the musket, the
Yeah.
Civil War, same thing.
Oh,
He
shit.
predicts
my
that
God,
that is not outside the realm of possibility.
well, I think honestly, I think that seems to be the design. And so how do we reconcile this, you know, from the standpoint of
Let me see.
your money, your retirement, life as we know it right now? We are looking at you know,
1 hour.
right now,
Right.
what's the risk of getting canceled for even having this conversation, right? This is the norm that we are facing.
Unfortunately, it is greater that we would get canceled for this conversation than if we were to have explicit X-rated information.
Oh yeah. We
So
could,
sad.
well, but that's the flip. And I keep thinking about what Khrushchev said. He said that we'll take over the country without firing one shot. And that's because of the freedoms that we have. See, the problem, it's how do I say this? The conversation that finally came up today, I was listening to Ted Cruz talk about this. The problem when you open the borders, all right, I'm going to be careful how I choose my words. When you open the borders, is the person that's opening the borders derelict of their duty as commander in chief? That's the question you have to ask yourself. That has not been brought up by the right or the left.
Or giving away our oil rights. I mean, this president has done anything but been, I mean, you talk about us and that we're supposed to be a fiduciary with
I
your
thought
money.
to wear my
He's a fiduciary
glasses.
with
No
our
wonder.
rights and with our
Well,
way of living.
the very first thing is security.
Well,
The
yes.
first thing is to that's his first job as commander in chief. And so what needs to be done is we have to be secure. And
Oh, there's no
we haven't talked about terrorism. Okay. That's could be another black swan event. There's so many things that are there. So here's what I'm saying, folks. Wow, what a heavy subject to start the year with. But somebody's got to be willing to tell the truth, and somebody's got to be willing to say, hey, this is what could happen right here, you know? So the question is, what do you do? How do you protect yourself? You create a foundation for your retirement. You make sure you have an emergency fund. Our prosperity plan, the first step is a safe money plan. The second step is the income plan, the tax plan. Folks, we're going to be focusing on tax, talking about a lot of things going forward, because one of the things that I see happening is Social Security is going to be changed, where Social Security, I believe, is going to be means tested. Our healthcare system is messed up. Right now, there's a lot of things that need to be fixed. Alex, how are you doing? Thanks for joining us. I hope you are great. Tom, you were right. It's not even a liberal conservative thing, Tom, because both sides of the aisle are complicit in my mind. Because somebody's not speaking up and saying, hey, you can't let people just get across the border, willy-nilly, and you can't even tell who they are. So, folks, this is a perfect storm that's brewing that we need to be prepared for. And here's my solution to all of this. We need a national revival. We need a faith revival so that people can start thinking about each other as opposed to just themselves. The Bible says that the love of many will wax cold. And I believe that we need a revival of love in this nation. That's true love. Folks, we are out of time. Stay tuned. Call us at 800-440-0434. Go to mymoneysafe.com.
Experience the best selection of cigars and accessories in the country. Corona Cigar is located at 4142 West Boy Scout Boulevard across from International Plaza, or visit coronacigar.com.
With SRN News, I'm Greg Clugston in Washington. A partial government shutdown was averted this weekend when the Senate passed a package of spending bills late Friday night. President Biden signed the legislation yesterday. Lawmakers now are working to fully fund all federal agencies by the 22nd of March. In Nigeria, security forces are searching for nearly 300 children who were abducted from their school by motorcycle-riding gunmen. The mass kidnapping was the third in northern Nigeria since last week. No group has claimed responsibility for any of the recent abductions, but authorities suspect Islamic extremists. OpenAI is reinstating CEO Sam Altman to its board of directors and said it has full confidence in his leadership after the conclusion of an outside investigation into company turmoil. The ChatGPT maker also announced adding 3 women to its board. This is SRN News.
Start your morning with Hugh Hewitt.
Man who's treated me most of the times pretty good. And I like him, and he is a smart guy. Hugh Hewitt. Where are you? Where are you? Thank you.
We think you'll agree with the people who make the news. Hewitt is a pretty smart guy.
You're very popular. More popular than you would even know.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Weekday mornings at 6, right before Mike Gallagher at 9 on AM 860. The Answer and theanswertampa.com.
See National Salem Talk Show host Dr. Sebastian Gorka live in person March 19th at the Corona Cigar Company in Tampa. Get tickets while they last at theanswertampa.com.
We have a high rip current risk in effect through Monday morning. For today, breezy and not as warm with some clouds and sunshine with a high of 74. For tonight, mainly clear and cooler with a low of 54. For tomorrow, mostly sunny and nice with a high of 76. Get your weather news when and how you want it wherever you are. Download our free app or visit AccuWeather.com. That's your AccuWeather forecast. I'm Caitlin Lawrence for AM 860, The Answer.
This is an encore presentation of the Prosperity Hour with Greg Ellie.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Greg Ellie of the Prosperity Group, and I really want to thank you very much for tuning in to the Prosperity Hour. And we talk about a Black Swan event. We talk about protecting your money, how to create a pension-like income, how to create an inflation-friendly increasing income. We're talking about the possibility of a Black Swan event, and it's because it's a reality that we've never faced before in a long time. Call us at 800-440-0434. Go to mymoneyissafe.com. We'll see you next week. God bless you.
You fed me lavender, honey, from an antique school your grandmother gave you one sad afternoon. You came to gaze and gave it to your soon-to-be daughter. Soon you'll be somebody's father. Somebody's father.
Welcome back, folks. This is Greg Ellie of the Prosperity Group, and the song that you heard is by my daughter, Annie Ellie, who's been singing in Hawaii as of late, and it's called Lavender Honey. Great song that she wrote. And so, folks, look, we can help you with a lot of things. We can help you add money to your account. I'm going to tell you very bluntly, you can add 20 to 45% into your retirement account immediately. If you think that's important, at least some of your money should be considered to do that, I believe, because what happens if we're right and there's a correction in the market? What do you do? So these are things that can be very, very helpful for you that we want to help you with. So, Patty, I could see your brain rolling here with things that we're talking about. Tell me what you have in mind right now.
What I was thinking about is on the previous segment when you asked the question, with all this uncertainty, with the fear of a black swan event, etc. What can we do to help clients? What can we recommend? And I have to laugh and say, because if you ask our clients, before they meet with us, let's put it in the bank. They've got 5%. And the reason I'm laughing is because the last time that we had something like this, it was the Great Depression. And who bailed us out?
It's the insurance companies. And
thank you.
And Patty, it's not because the insurance companies are altruistic and they have everybody's best interest. It's because it's designed so that people have faith that the money's going to be there. Think about it. If an insurance company could file bankruptcy and pay you 10 cents on the dollar, nobody would own a policy.
Exactly.
Because you wouldn't have confidence. But the bank, folks, go to FDIC.gov and look up the bank insurance fund. Look how much money is backing your CD. And
talk about pennies to the dollar.
Pennies to the dollar. Wow. We need to play the song Pennies from Heaven, that's the problem is that everything is changing. But you know what else we're not even talking about today? And I'm going to bring it up since you stirred that in my brain. The digital dollar is right around the corner, folks. It's right around the corner. Your dollar, you could wake up one morning and the dollar's not worth what it is. So that's going to be something that we need to look at. And I think there's truth to what he said. What if there's not an election? I think if that happens, we got some deep, deep problems that's going to take place.
Yes.
They're I won't say it. They won't. Who is they? I don't know who they is. But it was funny. I was having a conversation. My phone was recording the whole thing, and it was texting it to someone, and I caught it. And, I had to fire my text. But this is crazy when you talk about this, It
is frightening.
It really is.
People want to hear these things. They want to talk. They want to be educated. We were having lunch together the other day.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's right. Somebody was
right. And a gentleman.
And somebody I happened to know. We didn't recognize each other at the time.
But he got up from the table, came over and said that he didn't want to leave the table because he wanted to continue listening to you talk.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Patty, we need to address sacred cows. Many of the sacred cows that we have been told aren't really that sacred. And I think if COVID taught us one thing, it was that. I have done such a deep dive historically with a lot of things that we were told to accept. And I'm finding, and here's why. When I look, if I'm a historian during that 2020 to 2022, depending on my perspective, depends on what I tell people. So that means that history is not objective, it's subjective, depending on who's in control and depending on what my perspective is. If I'm of the perspective that everyone's got to mask up, got to get jabbed and do all of that, that is a very different perspective than somebody who's on the opposite end of the spectrum. So depending on who has control of the airways, it depends on what ends up happening. And so with that in mind, I have to look and go back to looking. I'll give you an example. Okay. You've heard me mention this before, but before I mention it, have you ever heard the term replacement theology? Okay. Replacement theology was introduced by Constantine, who made himself Pope. Okay. And that was in like 321 AD. And basically, he blamed, with an incorrect translation, that the Jews were responsible for putting Jesus on the cross. So he took all of the Jewish elements out of the church. Well, the problem, you can't be a Christian unless you are Jewish, in the sense of the historical truth and what we got from Judaism. And so that's why you get people like Dennis Prager who are talking about, there needs to be cooperation between Christians and Jews. I think there's the Fellowship of Christian and Jews and different groups like that, because you can't exclude one without the other. But what happened, it's a miscorrect interpretation of the Bible when it said, let his blood be on us and on our children. That was placed on the whole Jewish state. You know who actually said that? It was the Pharisees. It was the religious leaders. Okay. That's a whole different connotation. When you see that, it's just like in the Ten Commandments, it's not thou shalt not kill, it's thou shalt not murder. That really changes the whole perspective of that. So what I'm saying is it's not subjective, it's your perspective. So I think when you go back to history, you've got to look at alternative sources, not just the sources that are showing us, telling us what to believe. And so what happens is I've gotten to the point where I don't just accept everything at face value. I don't. I go back and I make sure. All right. So it's very important. Let's see. Oh, I've got a comment from one of my former tennis students. And he said, what is your program about? I'm confused. Are you talking about religion? Are you talking about investments? Are you talking about history? Exactly. Your podcast is very confusing. What is your specialty? What is the benefit of me listening to your podcast? Wow, I love that. That's good, Asanka. Here's the deal. We're talking about everything. It's a financial program, basically. But you have to look at what affects finances, all right? Religion affects finances. Wars affects finances. People's opinions affect finances. The whole thrust of the program is to protect your money, to make sure you have a foundation. Our specialty is protecting your money, showing you how to create a pension-like income and protecting it. But guess what? I'm also who I am, and I'm going to speak freely about what I believe. And if you want to listen to it, great. If you don't, you can always turn me off.
Well, I can see
but
it.
I
Can
hope
you
you
hear
are
me?
doing well. I know you've struggled with some things, and I hope and I pray blessings on you, my friend. And I'd love to see you on the tennis court again. And I'm planning on being on the tennis court soon. I actually was for the first time, a couple of days ago, and it was okay. So anyway, folks, here's the point. I'm glad my friend asked that question, because if you want to know what's going on, you got to listen to what's going on. You got to see what's going on and how can it affect your money. The bottom line, folks, think about what I'm going to say right now. If you can add 25 to 45% of your money, or if you can create a tax-free revenue that's insulated from creditors, all right, in most states, then that's a pretty safe place to put your money. We've got a lot of doctors. Why do they do business with us? Because of the fact that their money's protected. It's protected from, outside of fraud, it's protected from creditors, those type of things. So these are the type of things that we can help you with. And if you want to learn and go deeper, look at go to our YouTube channels, and you can look at some of the things that we've talked about on YouTube and see what's going on. So it's very important, folks. It's very important, because you need to know what to expect and what to be prepared for. Right now, I believe you are going to see taxes go up like never before. And if you are not prepared and you don't have a tax-free strategy, then you're going to be caught in a tough position, because right now inflation is going through the roof. Just look at what's happening to the gas pump. Folks, we're out of time this segment. Go to 1-800-440-0434 or go to mymoneyissafe.com. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, do you have a 401k Are you 59 and a half or approaching 59 and a half? You can take a defensive step to convert your 401k to an IRA, yet you can continue contributing to your 401k. So what happens is this: if you've got 400,000 in your 401k and the market loses 20, you haven't lost $80,000 because you converted it to an IRA. Take advantage of this. Call 1-800-440-0434. Go to mymoneyissafe.com and learn how you can add up to 45% to your 401k.
It's a Prosperity Minute with Greg Ellie and the Prosperity Group in Sarasota.
Are you concerned with what the stock market is doing? Have you lost 12 to 15% of your accounts? And you hear, hey, don't worry, hang in there, it'll come back. Are you 75? Are you 60 years old and you just don't want to go backwards with your account? Let me show you a strategy that'll add double digits to your account day one and provide a lifetime increasing income for both you and your spouse. Just simply give me a call. Thank you.
Safe money strategies from the Prosperity Group include retirement planning, wealth management, tax planning, and estate and legacy planning. The Prosperity Group online at mymoneyissafe.com or call 800-440-0434. That's mymoneyissafe.com or call 800-440-0434.
Are you over 30 and putting off life insurance? It's time to get a quick quote from Ethos, a better, easier way to get term life insurance, all online with no medical exam. Answer a few health questions and you could be approved for up to $2 million. Isn't it worth 10 minutes to help protect your family's financial security? Ethos, up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com.
This is Dennis Prager, and now a truly exciting new benefit. My monthly online video get-together for Pragertopia Plus members only. For an hour each month, get an exclusive chance to ask me anything. I'll be answering your questions. I've never done this. Submit your questions for me at Pragertopia.com. This is our chance to connect like never before. Go to Pragertopia.com or click the banner at DennisPrager.com.
This is an encore presentation of the Prosperity Hour with Greg Ellie.
I got a call from an old friend. We laughed about how we had changed, but I could tell things weren't going as well as he planned. He tried to hide his feelings, but they only gave him away. The longer I listened, the more I kept wishing that I knew the right words to say. And you're the only one. Lord, I know you are.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning into the Prosperity Hour. You might have just tuned in. I want to talk to you about a term that we use. It's called how to create a pension-like income. I just made, I just explained to people, right now you can do what's called an in-service rollover, which is a way to protect your money that you have in a 401k. If you are 59 and a half or approaching 59 and a half, you can move that money over into a foundational safe account that can add over 20% to your account day one. And we'd be glad to talk to you about these strategies. It's very, very important. We were talking about black swan events. That's what our title is today with the show. But COVID, Patty, I remember looking at that graph. And in fact, if I can actually put it on, I'll share it on our Facebook page as we do the Facebook page right now. It's really important. And so we'll try to show that. But folks, you've got to be safe with your money. You have to have a strategy to protect your money. That's crucial right now. It is crucial.
Absolutely. Protecting your money via creating a pension-like income, protecting your money via creating tax-free income, because you said that you thought that taxes would get higher.
Oh, I think without a doubt.
Absolutely, because the sunset rule is about to go away, and taxes and
The what rule?
About in 2025.
Oh, the tax, taxes are on sale right now.
Yeah, because and
Hey, Doc, your clock is wrong. And I can't hear anything you're saying, so.
I know. Well, I had to unmute myself. Yeah, my clock is.
Your clock is off.
Yeah, I know it's. Hey, how do you like the color coordination?
That is beautiful. What are those in the background? Lilacs or tulips? I can't tell.
Those are crocuses.
Crocuses. Oh, it's that crocus time of year. It's March, yeah.
Yeah, they start popping up north. Do we have them down here?
I don't think so. I'm not in my house. I remember them being yellow up north, though, for some reason. Probably come in a bunch of colors.
Yeah, I think they do. Depends on how you breed them or whatever viruses attacked them or whatever their genetics are.
Well, I know it's always a happy moment when they start coming out of the ground.
Well, in Kentucky, in Louisville, it was because, then we were happy because we could take off all of our heavy jackets and sweaters.
That's right. We could stop worrying about the blizzards and start worrying about tornadoes.
But, we had one of the biggest snows we ever had was on April 1st in Kentucky, in Louisville. As a kid, I remember that. It was like 4 inches. Of course, it melted within a day or two, but.
That's a lousy April Fool's joke.
Well, I love the snow, actually. I mean, I didn't want to live in it all the time, but when we had it, for kids, it was fun. And we got to stay home and use our sleds and practice our snow skiing and all that.
Yeah, I feel sorry for kids today because they just have to work on their computers now. They don't get the day off like we did.
No. And, of course, we're in Florida, so I don't know what the kids are doing when it's snowing up north, but.
They have an e-learning day.
Do they?
That's the part. Yeah, right now, so they don't have to take all those days off and then stay later in June.
That's too bad. They're missing out on something, I think.
It is. It was a chance to go home and watch soap operas.
Unless they were playing hooky and not at their computers.
Yeah. Well, there's probably some of that going on, but if you got a teacher, if you're on Zoom and there's a teacher asking you a question, you better answer it.
Oh, that's right, because the teacher is there too, huh?
Oh yeah, this is like a classroom setting, but everybody's on the Zoom.
Well, I guess that way you can't poke the girls, huh?
That's true, but you don't have to wear any pants.
That's true, but what if you stand up?
Exactly right. So what are we talking about today, Doc? What do you got on the agenda?
Well, we got to talk about daylight savings time, right? I mean, that's important.
Absolutely. It kills people, doesn't it?
Oh, I can't stand it. I'm all for the bill in Congress that's been put forth to end daylight savings time. I think Marco Rubio is championing that.
Yeah, I think it passed the Senate yesterday, but sitting in the House.
Well, whatever the Republicans want, the Democrats will vote against it.
I know it's very sad, but that's true.
Just on general principles.
But even the Democrats have put that forward, and it still hasn't passed. There's somebody's buying somebody somewhere to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, but I don't understand why. What's the purpose?
I don't know. Burn more fuel, burn less fuel. I don't think it makes any difference at all. You got 1 hour dark here, 1 hour dark at the end of the day. Doesn't make any difference.
Well, I don't think anybody's proven that it does save energy, and that's one of the reasons they implemented it back after World War II was to save energy. And I don't know that anybody's proven that it does.
Now, I heard that it was started way back in Ben Franklin days, and they did it to save the amount of petrol they had to put in the gas lights.
Well, that was the recommendation, and I don't think it was ever enacted formally by any governments. I think the first time it was actually utilized was in Canada in the Thunder Bay area back at the turn of the last century.
It's New Canada then.
Yeah.
We'll stay. The mornings will be bright by the glow.
Had a patient from Thunder Bay area, and it was May, and I said, "Aren't you supposed to go home?" He said, "I can't." I said, "Why not?" He said, "There's snow to the eaves of my roof. I can't get in."
In May.
In May. Well, good. Stay down here, spend more money.
Well, no wonder they're looking for savings. See, Iceland's got it good. They got a volcano right underneath the whole country, and they just take the steam and the heat right off. In Iceland, it's all free.
Yeah, until the whole damn island blows up.
Well, that's the risk you take, yeah.
Is it Iceland or Greenland? I think it's Iceland that's had an eruption in the past month or two.
Yeah, Iceland's always having an eruption. It seems like every year or every other year. They have to fly around the country because there's so much crap in the air.
Did you know Greenland's the largest island in the world?
Really? So, yeah, Antarctica is a continent, so it's too big to be an island. So I guess that would pretty much put it on Greenland. Yeah, I can't think of anything larger, but it's not green though, most of the time.
Well, I think it's getting greener now that the planet's warming up. Why did they call it Greenland anyway?
I actually know the answer to that one. It was the Vikings. The Vikings found Iceland, which is much more temperate compared to Greenland. And they didn't want anybody to go to Iceland. So they found this other big place that had snow all the time. So they called it Greenland. And then they called their little piece of heaven Iceland. So they wanted everybody to go right to Greenland.
I did not know that.
I heard that on the History Channel. So you know it's got to be true.
And they apparently they made it all the way to North America.
Yes, absolutely. We have a lot of Norwegians in Minneapolis, don't we? In Minnesota, that area.
Yeah. I think Minnesota's got a lot of Norwegians, and so does North
What's their kind of weather?
I think North Dakota and that whole northern tier going out towards Montana.
Well, I know they were here supposedly long before Columbus.
Well, there were probably people that accidentally bumped into the continent from Asia and Europe and Pacifica. I would think that some Pacifica blood was mixed in with the South American.
Undoubtedly, yeah, they had to meet.
Yeah, with the South American Indians. They're not really Indians; they're Asians that got lost. Damn, Mongolians are always wandering.
Forgot they didn't leave any bread. Gotta leave those breadcrumbs to get back to Russia.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you get homesick for Siberia.
Yeah, I'll bet they do all the time. Yeah.
Miss the winters. It's pretty amazing how they populated the Americas. They went down the coast first and then came back up. Did you know that?
No, but when you look at those mountains, I would see why you'd want to go back up, sure.
Yeah, I mean, they worked their way down, and then one son would get mad at the old man and grab a couple of girls and head north. Talk a couple of girls into leaving their moms before they got
somewhere along the way. They planted some seeds to grow vineyards, and it worked out well for them.
Yeah, and then they came back all the way up through the Mesoamerica and fanned out into the North American continent.
Well, it's a tough trip if you're going to go out, east of California. It's pretty much all desert if you don't have any irrigation.
Yeah, it's amazing how well they adapted to it too, at least in small pockets, like the Hopi and the Navajo in the southwestern desert. But some of that was practical. It was defensive, so they wouldn't be attacked by other tribes. A lot of the killing among the North American Indians, probably the South American and the Mesoamerican too, was intertribal.
Oh, sure. I'm sure they were fighting for buffalo food and all that stuff. Yeah.
Well, they kidnap women and raid each other's villages,
And
so,
water. You had to be close to water, so they all congregated on the rivers, I imagine.
and they died a lot from viruses too that were introduced by the Europeans.
Yeah, that's what wiped out the Incas, I think.
Well, I think the Incas are still there. They just kind of retreated back into the mountains.
We just took all their gold. We got about 2 minutes before news, Doc, so I'm going to make sure all my buttons are in the right spot. You do the same.
All right, buddy.
Talk to you in a few minutes.
Okay.
$2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
This is Dennis Prager, and now a truly exciting new benefit. My monthly online video get-together for Pragertopia Plus members only. For an hour each month, get an exclusive chance to ask me anything. I'll be answering your questions. I've never done this. Submit your questions for me at pragertopia.com. This is our chance to connect like never before. Go to pragertopia.com or click the banner at dennisprager.com.
WGUL and W229DJ Dunedin. Powered by Prosperity Group. See them online today at mymoneyissafe.com.
Experience the best selection of cigars and accessories in the country. Corona Cigar is located at 4142 West Boy Scout Boulevard across from International Plaza, or visit coronacigar.com.
With SRN News, I'm Greg Clugston in Washington. President Biden says he regretted using the term illegal during his State of the Union address to describe the suspected killer of Laken Riley. In an interview this weekend with MSNBC, the president said he should not have used illegal. It's undocumented, he said. But Donald Trump blasted the president for the apology and blamed him for Riley's death at a rally yesterday attended by the Georgia nursing student's family. Riley's death has become a rallying cry for Republicans amid a record surge of migrants entering the country. Also at srnnews.com, a partial government shutdown was averted this weekend when the Senate passed a package of spending bills late Friday night. President Biden signed that legislation yesterday.
This package helps fund the hiring of more air traffic controllers, housing assistance for veterans, and other programs. Congressional negotiators are working on a second package, including defense spending, in an effort to have all federal agencies fully funded by March 22nd. I'm Jackie Quinn.
A bill that could lead to the popular video sharing app TikTok being unavailable in the U.S. is quickly gaining traction in the House. Lawmakers have expressed concerns that the platform poses national security concerns. Alaska Airlines says it's cooperating with the Department of Justice after a criminal investigation was opened into the Boeing 737 MAX blowout on its flight in January. The U.S. National Transportation Safety Board had earlier said the door panel that flew off appeared to be missing 4 key bolts. The first photo of Kate, the Princess of Wales, since her abdominal surgery nearly 2 months ago has been issued, along with a statement thanking the public for its support. The picture shows Kate in a chair surrounded by her 3 children. This is SRN.
Are you ready to embark upon an unforgettable expedition this summer? I hope you'll join me, Mike Gallagher, along with Dr. Sebastian Gorka and our special guests on the Patriots Alaska cruise. We'll unpack the trends and influences shaping our world today while sailing the pristine coast of Alaska over 4th of July. Learn more at patriotsalaskacruise.com. This experience is way more than a vacation. It's a chance to participate in spirited discussions and thought-provoking lectures on board the ship with like-minded patriots. 7 action-packed days. We'll chart a course toward a bright American future, all while surrounded by Alaska's rustic and natural wonders on a beautiful luxury cruise ship. You'll experience powerful creation immersed in the splendor of glaciers and fjords. Mark your calendar, June 29th, July the 6th. Secure your cabin by calling 855-565-5519 or book online at patriotsalaskacruise.com.
The following program is sponsored by Bay Area Medical Can Care Clinic.
Sponsored by Bull Oak, Tampa's premier men's health clinic, specializing in ED treatments. Call 813-219-1919.
We have a high rip current risk in effect through Monday morning. For today, breezy and not as warm with some clouds and sunshine with a high of 74. For tonight, mainly clear and cooler with a low of 54. For tomorrow, mostly sunny and nice with a high of 76. Get your weather news when and how you want it wherever you are. Download our free app or visit AccuWeather.com. That's your AccuWeather forecast. I'm Caitlin Lawrence for AM 860, The Answer.
Go, Doc.
Good morning. This is Dr. Bill, your radio MD. I got Ken by my side, and we're doing a show, baby. We're going live on radio, and we're also streaming on Facebook, YouTube, X. Is it X now? Twitter? Yeah.
It's yeah. X, it used to be Twitter, whatever they call it now.
X and I don't know, a few other platforms. I can't remember them all. I'm getting old. Give me a break here, dude.
Hey, you know what? We're all tired, Doc. Let's face it.
We're off because of the stupid daylight savings time. And you know, when this started, Ken, was back around towards the end of World War I. They wanted to save energy supposedly and conserve resources, but apparently there's no data to show that it worked. And this was suggested hundreds of years ago. In fact, the Romans had a system of saving parts of the day. I don't know how they did it, but they had water clocks. Did you know that? I did not know that.
Water clocks?
Yeah, water clocks. So I guess they would have a certain amount of water fall over a period of time, and that would turn the dial or whatever, and that's how they kept time. And apparently they were on time a lot.
Well, they were bright people. Look at they built just about everything before the 18th century or so.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what the Greco-Romans had discovered and developed was lost until the Age of Enlightenment or the Renaissance or whatever you want to call it, when everything started to come back and people started looking back at the old days back when the Romans were in charge. You know what ended the Roman Empire?
The Huns, I think.
Actually, it's weather. The
weather?
Yeah, the big volcano in Indonesia, I forget which one it's called, erupted around 600 AD, and it put the world into a volcanic winter for a few years, and people started to panic, and the food supply started to dry up because the crops weren't coming in. And so people started leaving the big cities, including Rome, and that led to the eventual downfall of the Western Roman Empire, and then the Eastern Empire took over for a while. That actually lasted, until 1500? I can't remember when the Ottoman Turks finally took it over. Mehmet the First or the Second or the Third or whatever he was.
Yeah.
But at any rate, people want to blame conquest by the Germanic tribes, which actually ended up being more Roman-like than the Romans. And so they adopted a lot of the Roman ways, and their empires were actually run more like the first and second, third century Romans ran things. But ultimately, it was weather.
I didn't know that. I thought it was conflict, like you said.
And you know, the Dark Ages, people think that it's because there wasn't anything going on, there were no new discoveries, and people were living in dire predicaments. But actually, the Dark Ages, that came from the volcanic winter that happened after this large volcano erupted and spewed out all of this volcanic dust into the atmosphere.
I was watching a program just the other day on something similar. They were talking about the Yellowstone. I guess the whole place is a volcano.
It's a caldera.
It's a caldera, right? Exactly. And if it blows up, forget it, folks.
It's all over.
It's all over the world. They say maybe some folks right along the equator will be able to survive because it won't get as cold as it will everywhere else, because it's going to get really, really cold. There's not going to be any food or any animals or anything like that. So some they think maybe there might be some folks who survive right along the equator. And but the population would drop below 1 billion for the whole planet. That's how many people would die if they estimate anyway, if the caldera goes. So
how do you feel about cannibalism?
Personally, I'd prefer a burger with cheese, but
well, what's
I don't
the
know.
difference?
What do you have? If I don't know if you're
a
in that
hamburger
situation
or a human burger, I mean, would you really know the difference? I mean, it all tastes like chicken anyway.
And you're starving. If
starving,
if you're at that point, you're starving. Yeah.
But don't eat brains. Don't do that.
And there are no other animals left. I mean, and that's kind of situation I would think you'd almost have no choice if you wanted to survive. Why would you want to survive? That's my question.
Well, here's the thing, Ken.
I want the first nuke to fall on my head.
The smaller animals, the mammals, survived 65 million years ago when the big meteor struck the Caribbean basin and wiped out all the dinosaurs and the larger animals. But the little animals that we evolved from, if you believe in evolution, were saved. They survived because they had different needs. They were smaller. They could hide underground easier. It's kind of hard if you're a Tyrannosaurus Rex to dig a hole and climb in a hurry.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but they had the same problem. They had essentially a nuclear winter after that.
Yeah, they had a nuclear
and
winter.
That's what killed the dinosaurs. It wasn't a blast. They all starved to death.
Well, yeah, but of course, the ones that were closest to it in the southern North America and northern,
they were the lucky ones.
America, they got wiped out right away.
Yeah,
and then you had these tidal waves coming that made sure that anything coastal got a little dose of salt water.
Yeah, they were about 1,000 miles wide or something high, something like that.
So here we are in daylight savings time, and the idea is that we're going to add an hour of sunlight to our day so we can do more. And after work, we can go out and do what?
I
guess we can go play.
You take your walk. That's when you take your exercise. That's when you get your exercise.
Yeah, you get your exercise, or you go out and smoke if you can.
Oh, you do both at the same time.
Or you do both at the same time. I love seeing these guys riding their bike with a cigarette hanging out.
That's right. The net effect is zero. So
Yeah. So, but at least they're trying.
Exactly. They got the right attitude. Got to get rid of that cigarette first.
So the purple flowers behind me are little crocuses popping up, and we had those up north. I haven't seen any down here. Do we have them down here? I haven't
seen it. I've been down here only 5 years, so I'm not the expert, but I haven't seen them. So I used to see them all the time up north. You're right. Great time of year in the north.
Well, the nice thing about longer days is that if you have the seasonal affective disorder, you get better in the summer. My daughter has seasonal affective disorder. She'd get really depressed in the winter, and then she'd start coming back in the spring. So Christmas and New Year's, they were a real nadir for her, a real low point.
I've also read though that the change in time, can hurt people. On the first Monday after, apparently somebody did a study or said heart attacks went up. Not sure if that's true, but that's what I've heard.
Probably because you release more cortisol in the morning, and that pushes your blood pressure up, and that has a number of other effects on your adrenaline side of the system. And so that can precipitate heart attacks because, you know, you get vasoconstriction, the blood vessels constrict. And then if you already have a plaque, you can have some abrasion there and have a bunch of platelets adhere to an opened plaque, start forming a clot. You have a heart attack and you drop dead. And that's it.
And all because they changed the clock on you.
All because of that damn clock.
That's right. See, you gotta think about these things. Right.
Any rate, so you know the seasonal affective disorder. It's depression. So you have sadness and emptiness and helplessness and hopelessness and lack of enthusiasm, and you don't get things done. You're irritable, frustrated, and restless. Sleep disruption. You know, physical problems. We call them vegetative functions: eating, sleeping, pooping, and peeing, and you know, sex. These are all vegetative functions. By vegetative, we mean they're really below any conscious thought. So there's your excuse, guys.
Okay,
So,
well.
I couldn't help it, Mom.
It's just seasonal. I'll be better in the spring.
Yes, I'll be better. So, and thoughts of death or suicide, and suicide actually goes up in the winter, especially out in the Northwest where it's overcast all the time.
Yeah, I
And,
can understand that.
Yeah, oversleeping, social withdrawal, all the symptoms of depression, and all that hits you. And this is what we call the seasonal affective disorder, which is a real recognized disorder. But now the one thing that I don't recognize is quality of sleep. Have you heard about this?
Quality of sleep. Not really, no.
So one of the guys in the lunchroom, he's always bringing up these things that he has no data to back it with. And he's got one of these new Apple, what do you call it? The watches, the Apple iWatch that will track your heart rate and your sleep patterns and everything. You can get these apps for it. And so he's doing this big sleep analysis on himself and talking about the quality of sleep. And I said, "Oh, come on, Nick. There's no data to show that there's anything to the whole quality of sleep." And he said, "Yes, there is." And he started talking about it. So, of course, being the little nibby nose that I am,
Yeah.
I started looking into this, and it's all subjective, Ken.
Is it? You believe it, so it is.
Yeah, well, they send out there's a whole bunch of these sleep quality index uh, questionnaires. So it's all subjective. So during the past month, what time have you usually gone to bed at night? And so it goes on from there. And during the past month, how many times have you woken in the middle of the night and for how many minutes? How long did it take you to get to sleep? How did you feel when you got up? You know, it goes on and on and on. And so it's all subjective. And people come into me and they say, "I can't sleep. I haven't slept in 3 days." Well, you know what? If you cannot sleep for 120 hours, you will die.
You fell asleep somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. So you were sleeping somewhere. And well, did you nap during the day? Well, no, I sat down on my recliner. Did you now? And how long were you there? I don't know, 2 or 3 hours. I can't remember.
Because you were asleep.
Because you were asleep. Yo.
But there are. I mean, REM sleep is a real thing. These have been measured by brain waves. But
yeah, deep sleep and REM sleep. I mean, there are sleep cycles that you go through: alpha, beta, gamma, delta. All these sleep wave patterns you go through, and rapid eye movement and all that. And apparently, there's something to having gone through a certain time period of some of these different sleep stages in order for you to have adequate sleep. But that's not the same as how did you feel when you woke up at 3 a.m. to go take a leak.
Yeah, it's a little more scientific the other way.
Yeah, this is not very scientific. And of course, a lot of this boils down to things like sleep apnea. And but that's a real disease and not something that's a byproduct of poor sleep quality. Poor sleep quality is a byproduct of sleep apnea. You know, that you have to have something real to actually have a syndrome that you can quantify. mean, you can't just ask people questions. I hear this all the time. Well, I must have caught something on the plane on the way down here from Canada or coming back from seeing my family in Wichita or whatever. Got any grandkids? Yeah. Do they go to school or daycare? Yeah. Were you around them before you left? Yep, right before. That's where you got your virus from. Because the kids bring it home. I mean,
Sure.
they're little petri dishes. And you know what a petri dish is?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's
Yeah,
an
that's where
environmental dish there. Yeah,
yeah, you grow bugs in there.
that's right.
So I mean, they go to daycare and one kid comes in with a cold, and 100 kids have a cold, and then 1,000, and then 10,000. It's geometric because that's the way it is with herd animals. You spread these things around in a hurry, and then you go home and you see grandma and grandpa, and they haven't been exposed to this for 30 or 40 or 50 years, so their immunity to these bugs has fallen over time. They get sick, and
So blame your grandkids.
yeah, blame the little damn little rugrats.
Put a mask on when the kids come over.
Yeah, well, or just smother them or something. I don't know. Anyway, you can't do that. It's illegal. So
I think it is. Yes. Don't.
Yeah.
We're just joking. We're not advising. So resist.
Consult your doctor before you do this.
Exactly. Yeah.
Before you try this, and your
little warning label on this show.
Yeah, and your local constable.
So it's 2:00 in the morning. I got up, I changed my clocks, and went back to bed because that's what you're supposed to do, right? So
I wouldn't know because I'm all electronic, so they change by themselves. Ken.
I love those clocks, but there's always a couple that don't. My one in my car doesn't change by itself. I got two on the wall. No, they don't change by themselves.
What kind of car? How old is your car? What year was it? Was it in the 20th century or the 21st century?
It was there. It was a while. My kids were in high school when I bought it. They're both graduate, making lots of money. One has a master's even right now. So I've been driving. I got 260,000 miles out of that, Doc. That ain't bad.
That's not bad. That's not
right.
bad at all. That's a pretty good batting average there, my friend.
When I give a car up, it's time to go.
You or the car?
Both right now.
Oh, okay. So they're going to
the
bury
first
you.
time. I was just thinking the other day, the next car I buy will probably be the last car I buy.
Well, I want to be buried in my VW Bug.
Really? The Bug, huh?
Yeah, my Volkswagen Bug.
You have to saw you in half or something.
Yeah, absolutely. So I saw where Mayo Clinic, now they're talking about Soylent. You know what Soylent is? You remember Soylent Green, that movie?
No, I don't actually. I don't think I ever saw it.
That's where they, when you died, they composted you.
Oh.
So now that's becoming a thing.
It's a green energy world now, I guess.
Yeah. So there's a company that will actually bury you they don't bury you, they compost you. So they put you in a barrel. I guess they chop you up, put you in a barrel, and, throw in some dirt and some bacteria to eat you up and some other nutrients, little honey or something to sweeten you up. And they roll you around. And then when you have completely decomposed, they take you out in the garden and dump you on the ground.
Well, they put a new tree in or something. So
I guess they put an apple tree in. And,
yeah. So you bring new life then from.
Well, I guess the Northeastern Indians taught the pilgrims to put a dead fish at the base of their corn plant, and they'd get a better crop. So used to do that, and the corn was a little fishy, but it was edible.
Oh, sure, a little fertilizer. In the end, everything is fertilizer, isn't it?
Yeah, in the end, everything gets ground back into stardust, so we all go back into elemental Boson-Higgs particles, and then I guess we're reassembled as something else. I'm hoping to be a star.
Star?
Yeah, when I come back.
I mean, like Brittany or somebody like that, or
no? I mean something that shines big in the sky, like
that kind of stuff. The real thing.
The real thing. I don't want to. I'm not messing around with this minor local provincial stuff. I'm going galactic, dude.
You want to go Nova? You want to be so big that someday you explode and just covered billions and billions and billions of miles of space. That's right.
I want to be seen by more than just planet Earth.
There you go.
I wonder if that's possible. You think I can?
You are already immortal, as am I. Anybody who talks on the radio is immortal because the signal just keeps on going
forever and ever.
Forever and ever.
So some alien in another galaxy one day will pick this up and go, "What the? What's this guy talking about? Is he crazy?"
Somewhere right now, light years away, they could be watching the very first episode of Lucy, if they have a big enough antenna.
That'd probably resonate.
So, I say, why are those married people sleeping in the different beds? What's wrong with this civilization?
Or what is marriage?
Yeah.
I didn't know there were genders.
Well, maybe on their planet they're not, so it could be quite interesting for those folks.
Yep. So the latest update on the tacrolimus, the longevity drug, the anti-rejection drug that we use for solid organ transplantation to keep your body from rejecting a foreign organ. I've been taking that, and one of the problems I had with the short acting was bad diarrhea. So we got the long acting tacrolimus, which ain't cheap, buddy boy. It's like $30 a pill.
Mm-hmm.
So the wife said you can take one every other day. So okay, so I'll try that. And so the bowels are better. Now, here's the thing, and I wondered about this because I haven't had a migraine since I started on this stuff, and usually I get, at least one a week. Any rate, I haven't had a migraine, so I did a little research on this, and the T cells that are affected by the T cells are the lymphocytic series of white blood cells. These are the smarter of the white blood cells. The dumb ones are the granulocytic series. The lymphocytes, they actually have memory, and they store antibodies, and they talk to B cells, and
it's part of our immune system, isn't it?
Yeah, it's part of our immune system. They talk to different cells in the body and interact, and they're very talkative little cells. They're very social cells, and they have ones that will store memory, and ones that are killer cells, and ones that pass on antibodies to B cells to tell them to make them. The B cells, they're pretty obedient. They do what they're told. Until they get out of control, then you can have a cancer, you can have a B or a T cell leukemia or lymphoma. But at any rate, so apparently this tacrolimus does affect the T cells that apparently are involved in the inflammatory process that is the final stages of a migraine. And we talked about the protein last week that attaches to the lining around the brain and stimulates the response that causes the bad headaches. So apparently there's, even past that, there's another immunologic trigger mechanism, and the tacrolimus interferes with that. Not bad. So I'm getting a positive side effect from the tacrolimus, and also it affects allergies. So my sinuses are not as congested, and I'm not wheezing as much and not coughing and hacking as much. And the wife's very grateful for that.
Is this something that you can ask your doctor about? And is it well known? Is it documented? People.
The antihistamine, or not the antihistamine, the anti-allergic effect is known, and we do have a cream with tacrolimus in it, and this is used for eczema, which is an allergic reaction in the skin, and severe eczema. And they're also trying it for vitiligo and some other skin diseases. Vitiligo is, you've seen the people who have the big white patches in their skin and their face and all over.
Mm-hmm.
I think Michael Jackson had vitiligo.
Your guess is as good as ours.
Well, he started turning white, and so I guess he went and just had everything made white.
I guess, yeah. I don't know.
And I think Elizabeth Taylor's the one who talked about his vitiligo and what a hard time he had with that.
Mm.
At any rate, so they have this topical tacrolimus, and they're using it for vitiligo too. So other autoimmune diseases, allergic diseases, are being treated now with tacrolimus, and this will probably expand But of course, there's a lot of side effects to a potent drug like this, and one being diarrhea, and others being in larger doses kidney and liver problems. But
Well, if it can help migraine headaches, if they can really confirm that, people will spend $30 easy to get rid of that headache. I've seen people in agony from migraines.
yeah, and I don't know if you can take it acutely or if you have to take it prophylactically. If you have to take it prophylactically, then if you're going to be able to afford it, it's going to have to be the short-acting drug, and that can cause more GI upset, tummy problems. I mean, it wasn't that debilitating. It wasn't like I was on the toilet all day long, but a couple of really loose stools a day.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit distressing. You get a little tummy ache and cramping and all that.
You pick your poison. You want the headache or?
Yeah, it depends on what you want. I'll take that over the migraines any day.
Yeah, so maybe this will be a treatment soon.
Yeah, who knows? It might be something to investigate, and I'd love to investigate it, but I don't think there's any money in it, and I can't afford to do any more research.
You gotta say, write a paper on it.
Dr. Bill says, take tacrolimus. Get rid of your migraines.
See, it didn't take long at all. You're done.
That was an easy paper.
That's right. See?
You think the New England Journal of Medicine will
they're going to
pick it
jump
up?
on that. New York Times will have it in the headline tomorrow.
They'll be climbing all over themselves.
CBS, NBC, 60 Minutes is going to be at your door.
Absolutely.
Don't open it for them.
No, because
they're not there for that. They're there for
they're not there to announce something good.
They're there for a gotcha somewhere along the way.
They're there for a gotcha. And I wonder what they're saying about the president's State of the Union address. He tried to be, I guess, sympathetic because of Laken Riley being killed by the illegal immigrant in Athens, Georgia, a couple of weeks ago. You remember that?
Yeah, he was.
And he called her Lincoln Riley. And then he proceeded to say, but, come on. There's not that many murders being committed by illegal aliens. I guess that was meant to make everybody feel better. Did you feel better?
Oh, I was instantly calmed. I was just impressed he made it to the podium. That's,
Well, boy, they gave him a big dose of Provigil to get him up there. I mean, they must have whacked him in the butt with some amphetamines or something, because
just take it right at the end of the take it right at the end of the aisle, Joe, and you'll be okay.
He was hot. And then did you hear the open mic when he was talking about how he was going to have a come to Jesus meeting with Bibi Netanyahu? He calls him Bibi.
Oh, I heard about it. I didn't hear the actual tape, but I heard it happened.
Yeah, I heard it in the Democratic senators that are his buddies. They're like, yeah, you go get him, Joe. You get him, buddy. I can see Joe going to get somebody now.
Oh, it's not even close to a fair fight between those.
You aren't careful, I'm going to drool all over you.
That's right. Netanyahu say, okay, Mr. President, thank you very much for calling. Then go do what he wants to do.
Now, I've got a nurse practitioner student working with me, and her husband is in some kind of special forces. And so he got called away this week. Of course, he can't tell her where he's going, but apparently we're going to send a bunch of aid to Gaza. And if we're going to unload it on the beaches, we have to have boots on the ground, or it'll just be stolen by Hamas and gangs and all that. And so we're going to have to set up some kind of an allotment system and try to keep law and order there. And if we have any mass shootings and people stampeding to kill each other to get to some Rice Krispies or whatever, I guess that we're going to have to keep the press out of it, or tell them don't say anything, because we don't, we'll give it to the Israelis, let them get the bad press. Meanwhile,
take a look at the time.
Oh my God, what happened?
We were just jawing away here. We're just jawing away.
Oh my God, Ken, we have to do a question. We have to.
I know, and I didn't even think of one yet today. That's how fast the time went by us here. What do you got for me? You got a question for me? Quickly. What do we got?
What was the first thing we talked about? Oh, it was about daylight savings time.
Yes.
Okay, here's a good question. When was daylight savings time officially instituted in the United States? You can give me a range. The first half of the 20th century, the last half of the 19th century. We'll keep it simple.
Okay, very good. There's your question.
Because everybody's sleepy.
That's right, exactly. We want to keep. That's why the music is so soothing today.
Yes, and Ken, I want you to give the phone number where to call to pick up a mug, one of the Dr. Bill mugs.
Actually, you win two, Dr. Bill, your radio.
You
MD
get two,
mugs.
and they're beautiful mugs. And I'm drinking out of one right now.
So give me a call, 877-969-8600. That's 877-969-8600. First caller with the correct answer wins. Which part? Well, what was the question again? Which part of the century?
Yeah, what part of the century was what century was daylight savings time first instituted in the United States?
And we'll give you a hint. It was not the 21st century.
It wasn't?
No.
Oh, I thought it was just last night they started.
No, we did this a long time ago, Doc.
All right. Okay. We'll be right back. I'm Dr. Bill. Got Ken by my side.
All right. Thank you, Doc. Hang in there, folks.
Experience the best selection of cigars and accessories in the country. Corona Cigar is located at 4142 West Boy Scout Boulevard across from International Plaza, or visit coronacigar.com.
With SRN News, I'm Greg Clugston in Washington. A U.S. Army vessel carrying equipment for building a temporary pier in Gaza is on its way to the Mediterranean. The voyage began just 2 days after President Biden announced plans to ramp up aid deliveries by sea to the besieged enclave where hundreds of thousands of Palestinians have been going hungry. The president also has stepped up his criticism of Israel's war conduct recently, saying it must do much more to prevent the killing of civilians. The sitting president and a former president held dueling events yesterday in Georgia. It's a state that both parties see as pivotal to winning in November. President Biden warned voters that democracy is on the ballot and that he believes Donald Trump when he says he wants to be dictator. Meanwhile, the former president blasted the current administration on immigration, saying that it's been a crime against humanity at the border. This is SRN News.
Dr. Bill for Bay Area Medical, located at 6399 38th Avenue North in St. Pete, 727-384-6411, 727-384-6411. Full-service clinic with x-ray, heart imaging, ultrasound, stress testing, and minor surgery. We provide quality health care in a warm and friendly atmosphere. We are multilingual, well-trained, and certified. Most American insurance and new patients accepted. Bay Area Medical, home of can care, 727-384-6411, 727-384-6411. Dr. Bill here. With social distancing and sheltering in place, telemedicine is here. Bay Area Medical Home of Can Care Clinic offers telemedicine for new and established patients. You can see me without an in-office visit. Schedule an appointment at 727-384-6411, 727-384-6411. When it's time for your appointment, type this web address into your cell phone or computer web browser, doxy.me/Bay Area Med. A cell phone works well and is all you really need. For computers, you need a web camera and speakers. We'll give you this address when you call for your appointment. We accept most insurances and travel insurances. Canadians and visitors, please call your travel insurance company for an authorization number prior to the visit. Copays and deductibles apply. Self-pay rates are available. Just ask. We accept credit cards, PayPal, and Stripe. 727-384-6411, 727-384-6411.
Dr. Bill here. My friends at St. Pete MRI and Sleep Diagnostics are your best choice for state-of-the-art MRI, CT, and sleep studies. Quality unsurpassed. 25 years experience makes St. Pete MRI my go-to imaging center. Self-pay rates are competitive and out-of-pocket cost a fraction of a hospital. Conveniently accessible from both sides of the bay at 750 94th Avenue North, St. Pete, near the Gandy. 727-577-2220, 727-577-2220.
Sponsored by Bull Oak, Tampa's premier men's health clinic, specializing in ED treatments. Call 813-219-1919.
We have a high rip current risk in effect through Monday morning. For today, breezy and not as warm with some clouds and sunshine with a high of 74. For tonight, mainly clear and cooler with a low of 54. For tomorrow, mostly sunny and nice with a high of 76. Get your weather news when and how you want it wherever you are. Download our free app or visit AccuWeather.com. That's your AccuWeather forecast. I'm Caitlin Lawrence for AM 860, The Answer.
Go, Doc.
And I'm back. This is Dr. Bill, your radio MD, and I got Ken by my side, and we're doing a show, Ken. I guess you didn't know that because you're still asleep.
Actually, I did notice.
Oh, you did? Well, you've been doing this for so long, I figured, hell, you could probably do this in your sleep.
Got all these lights in front of me and everything, so yeah, it keeps you awake. We got a winner, Doc.
Who we got?
We have Mark Johnson of Palm Harbor. Mark Johnson of Palm Harbor. He has the correct answer to today's question, which was, I believe, the 20th century. Is that that's the correct answer, right?
He's a smart boy.
He
First
was.
half of the
And by the
20th
way, he
century.
says it's not daylight savings times. You and I have both been savings time, but it's actually daylight saving time. No S on the end of that.
No S on the end of that. Okay, we apologize, Mark, and for correcting us and shaming us. We're only going to send you one mug.
And that'll be correct. That's right.
And it'll be late, by the way.
Have some coffee grounds in it. But don't worry about it.
It'll be 1 hour late.
It'll be an hour late. There you go.
Well,
right.
Thanks for listening, Mark, and everybody out there. We love you all.
Thanks to everybody who called in. That's right.
Yeah, everybody who called in and everybody who's listening.
We love you.
Everybody, we love you.
Otherwise, Doc and I are just talking to each other.
All alone.
That's right. We don't need all this fancy equipment. Just get on the phone.
Yeah. All right. So we're still doing a show here.
Yes, we're still on the air.
So there's this guy named Khan, not the Khan's.
Khan from Star Trek. I loved Khan.
Yeah. Well, I like him too, but this guy I think is living in Dubai, and he has been recruiting people to go to Russia to work for them for the war, to help out with the war effort. So there's a bunch of kids from India, mostly Muslim kids from India, that have gone to Russia to work in office jobs for the Russian military. Guess what?
They've all disappeared and are in the army now?
They're in the army and they're in the front lines. And they can't get out.
I'm sure.
Because if they desert, they get shot.
That's right. Exactly.
So now the Indian government is intervening and saying, we want our citizens back. I don't know if they really mean it, but sounds good. At any rate, the Indians are still buying oil from the Russians. So they're helping the Russian war effort. Did you know that?
No, but why would they take the Indian kids? I mean, you can't be that hard up for soldiers.
They're taking them from all over the world. They're getting them anywhere they can. I guess the Russian kids are saying, I ain't going.
They just probably all left. Yes.
And, I guess but the problem is you have to pay these people. Now, you don't pay them much. I mean, they get, $1,000 a month or something like that. It's pretty puny, but still, you have to come up with some rubles to pay for this. And so the Russians are, I guess, scrambling not only to find people to fight, but also to find money to pay these people with. So they're selling to the Indians. So basically, the Indians are paying their own kids to go fight.
Oh, man.
Wait a minute. What's wrong with this picture?
Maybe they should stop buying the oil from them.
Well, Nehru was a socialist, so he aligned himself with the Russians after India won their independence or got their independence from Great Britain back in the late 1940s. And so he was a big socialist, and he was one of these effete guys. Do you know he would send his laundry to England to be done? He didn't trust the Indians to do his laundry.
You're kidding.
And he wouldn't buy clothes in India, and all of his girlfriends were white, and he was not a nice man. At any rate, so then he had two kids who became prime minister, as you know. Indira Gandhi was his daughter. And Indira's son was prime minister for a while. Indira met an untimely end. Her bodyguard killed her.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
I think it was on television, too.
Yeah.
I think it was broadcast live there, just because she was arriving somewhere.
So at any rate, in the disputes with Pakistan, the Russians sided with the Indians. And of course, we had no choice because Russia was our sworn enemy during the Cold War years. And we sided with the Pakistanis, although we didn't really do a whole lot for them because the Indians just walked all over them and more than once. They're just such a big nation with so many resources. They have the largest standing army in the world now.
No kidding. Bigger than China's. Wow.
Bigger than China. They have the 5th largest navy in the world. And
but they use Russian. I think they use Russian equipment. So they're
well, yeah, but they laugh about it too because all the Russian planes crash and blow up in air, and it's junk. So they're making their own now, and they've made a couple of their own battleships, their own not battleships, but aircraft carriers and submarines, and so they're home growing now their own systems and their own weaponry. And as you know, they put a module on the moon several months ago. Did you know that?
I don't recall that particular.
Yep, they landed
mission,
on the southern pole of the moon. They landed, I guess, a scientific module to do research and take a look at the moon and see what the dust is made of.
Are they moving more to the west in general then?
Well, Modi really likes the West. He wants to be closer to the United States, but he has to move slowly because so many people in India still have negative feelings about the United States and positive feelings about Russia. And when some of the guys in the lunchroom were growing up, they actually got magazines from Russia as part of the cultural interchange between the two countries, and these magazines would show what a great life it was to live in socialist Russia. And so they'd always dreamed of going to Russia, but they ended up in the United States. But they still say bad things about the United States occasionally. Most
propaganda,
of the time,
man. It's all propaganda.
It's all propaganda. So it's an interesting situation where your loyalties are torn. I mean, you're an American citizen and you love the United States, but Russia helped you out when you were fighting the Pakistanis, and the United States was on their side. So hey, it's a little difficult, I'm sure, for some people to resolve all of that.
Yeah, especially if you were a kid and getting all that information back then.
Yeah, and your formative years are where a lot of your permanent impressions come from, and our personalities are formed by the time we're 6 or 7. So it's not easy to lose that. It's a difficult thing to escape your enculturation, and not many people can really do it, Ken. My sisters certainly haven't, and a lot of my Jewish side of the family and friends have not, because Judaism has been so closely associated with socialism, and so they take up a lot of these, I don't know what you want to call them, crusades for humanity, and get involved with birth control and social welfare and save the planet and all that kind of nonsense. Planet will be here whether we come or go.
That's right. We have no say.
We have no say, my friend.
None. Zero.
And all you have to do is look at the Titanic. I mean, that was the most modern ship of its era, and it was unsinkable, and on its maiden voyage it sunk.
That's right. Look at it now. How's it doing now?
It's at the bottom of the ocean, but it's a good exploratory site now for deep ocean rovers and all that. And they can go down and pick up old China and all that kind of stuff.
And come up here and make some money.
Yeah, bring it up. I think there's supposed to be some kind of an international agreement and nobody goes down there and steals anything. Yeah, right.
Yeah, yes, exactly right.
Yep.
Who's going to know? They got a cop out there standing there?
Yeah, I think they do. I think they got one actually on the deck.
Do they?
In a hard hat.
In a little scuba tank kind of thing.
Yeah, he got some scuba tanks on his back and a hard. Oh my God.
Clutch cargo.
So at any rate, the Houthis are back at it. They're shelling ships in the Red Sea area there and the Gulf and all that, causing trouble. And now there was an American and a Danish ship. Now the Danes, you didn't know that the Danes are involved.
This is not a NATO thing, is it? What are the Danes doing in there?
Well, I think that we're probably saying to our European partners what Trump is saying out loud. We're saying, the Democrats are saying quietly, you got to get your ass over here and help us out. So the Danes actually shot down some of these Houthi missiles, and the Houthis say they fired 37, and the U.S. and the Danish ships say, nah, we only shot down 15, so that 37 is a little inflated. And the Houthis say, well, we hit our targets, and the Americans and the Europeans are saying, really? We didn't notice it.
Where's
I
the
felt-
fires? Yeah.
I felt something kind of brush over my head, but it could have just been a seagull or something.
Oh man, he's I don't know why we just don't hit these guys a little bit harder.
Because
Not just shoot down the missiles. Let's hit them a little bit harder.
Because we got a bunch of wimps at the helm here.
I know.
Got these left-wing Democrats that want socialism, internationalism, and pacifism. Guess what? That doesn't work, Ken. That's been tried off and on for centuries, and it has never worked. The only thing that's worked is when a big empire like the Romans take over a lot of land, and if you rebel, they come in and kick the crap out of you, tell you to stop it, and they'll decimate you. You know what decimate is?
Decimate?
Decimate, D-E-C-I.
Decimate. Oh, decimate. Yes, absolutely. It'll destroy you.
Well, actually, it comes from the Latin every 10th. So what they would do is they would line up a population, and every 10th person, they would behead them in front of the others and say, now, behave or it'll happen to all of you. And that's what decimate means. Deca is 10. So every 10th person was killed to teach you and your town a lesson.
A lot of counting going on in that line. Let's see.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7. I got to move
That's
one to the
one
left.
line you don't want to get in.
I got to move one to the left here.
So, hey, buddy.
Excuse me, ma'am. Can I
places.
stand next to you over here? Thank you.
The guy that couldn't count, that's who you change places with.
That's right. If you could count to 10, you're in good shape.
One of my friends who grew up in Moscow till he was 10 years old, he said if there was a line that formed, you got in it because you didn't know what it was, but you knew it was something. And so you got in it to see if you could get there before they were all out of it, whether it was bread or cheese or, gloves or whatever. So people would just line up and everybody would say, anybody know what it's for? And no, we don't have. So they pass it back through the line. So, but there's some lines you want to get in and there's some lines that you do not want to get in. So when Husbands came in and said, line up, that was not to get something nice. So you didn't want to get in that line. At any rate, so the Houthis are at it again, and Sleepy Joe is bad mouthing the Republicans and Trump. He doesn't like Trump at all.
I get that sense. Yes.
Yeah. Apparently, Trump is a real threat. I didn't realize what a threat he was to the establishment in Washington, D.C. And those guys are making big money, and they don't do a whole lot. Maybe some of the senators and congressmen who are dedicated work hard, but
they all seem to come out with a lot more money than they went in with. That's all
certainly the Senate does. The House, I'm not so sure, but the Senate, yeah.
And considering their salaries, it's kind of fishy.
Well, I think the Senate is they're privy to so much advanced information, and maybe some of the people in the House on some of the subcommittees, like on defense and intelligence, they may have some info ahead of everybody else that they can't share with their fellow congressmen. But certainly in the Senate, you are exposed to a lot of information, and it's a much tighter body, much more collegial. So the Democrats and Republicans that have been in the Senate for a long period of time, they're friends. They go out and they eat dinner together, and the wives hang out together, and all that. The House, not so much.
And they called it brokers together. So,
Yeah.
There's a lot of rich people coming out of Congress, it just seems. They write books, too. They write a lot of books, and they make money that way, too. So.
Well, the other thing is, especially if you're in the Senate, you can get a job with corporations if you have an expertise in a certain area, like if you were on the Intelligence Committee or the Defense Committee for long periods of time, then you know the general direction and how things work. And so you'll be hired by these big, companies like Northrop Grumman and Boeing, and, they'll put you in a good position and pay you a good salary just to give them intel.
Exactly. You might as well be a lobbyist.
And basically that's what you turn into. So it's a fascinating system, but that's free enterprise, my friend.
Revolving door. Yep.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's good or bad, but certainly it's better than anything that we see around the world So
it's all we got right now, Doc.
that's yeah. I mean, that's probably the best system there is, and or what we have is the best system there is. If it's not destroyed by the Democrats, they really do want to destroy us. They really do. They do not like free thinking and free will, and it just. I mean, you just can look at the State of the Union address. What did he attack? He attacked the right to life people. He attacked people who want to maintain the border safe and who want to cut down on the illegal immigrants coming in. And Biden referred to the guy that killed Lakin as an illegal, and he apologized for that. Did you know that?
I heard about that. Yeah, I heard.
Yeah, he said I should have said undocumented.
Undocumented. That's right.
Not illegal. So
I know.
I don't know, Ken. It's very confusing for a simple boy from Louisville, Kentucky, to comprehend all of this. And then the federal courts have blocked Biden administration from diverting funds from the border wall. You know, they wanted to take 1.2 billion from the border wall fund that Congress passed when Trump was in power, and he wants to spend it on who knows what, social welfare, or spread it around the the undocumented immigrants.
Probably wants to send it to all the cities too, because they're having trouble housing all these undocumented folks.
All these cities that wanted to be.
That's right. All the sanctuary cities.
Sanctuary cities.
Who believed that they could never get there. Found out there's a free ride if you want it. Yeah.
So the whole premise of this is to, I guess, to flood the country with new Democrats, and this will impact on the census in 2030. And you'll get more, even if they can't vote, you'll get more representatives from your districts or your state, and you get more electoral votes. So there is some strategy to this for the Democrats to bolster their numbers nationally, and it may work. It may be effective unless Trump comes in and drops some nukes on some of these refugee camps. Can you do that? I don't think so.
The nukes might take out too much cattle. I don't want to see beef prices going up any higher.
No, we don't want beef prices going up. But how do we get rid of these people?
Greyhound.
I don't know that we'll be able to. You know, they'll disappear into the woodwork, and all the Catholics and Jews in the family will be taking them in and hiding them and all that kind of stuff until they run out of food.
You know, I have no idea how once somebody gets entrenched in an area, it's tough to get them out. I bet
it's like
so they get jobs. You know, they get jobs and things like that.
Yeah, it's like socialism. It's tough to undo it. So once you got Social Security in place and Medicare and Medicaid, it's tough to get rid of those things because people, after a generation, they see that as just part of the landscape. And if you take that away, then they say, wait a minute, what are you doing? And that's, you can't, I mean, you don't take my Social Security away. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I mean, I put money into the system. I want it back out. And Social Security reminds you of that when you get on Social Security, Ken. They say, you worked for it, you earned it, now you come get it. They actually say that.
Did they really?
Yeah, they did.
I'm not there yet. I'm 1 year away from that yet.
Well, it's a secret that we hide, and only people who are my age and they in the Social Security age group are allowed in the club, and then we let you know some of the inner secrets.
All right, you have to show me the secret handshake.
I got you. I will. And it's not as difficult as the Shriners, as getting into the Shriners, but it's certainly, I would say, not super lucrative, but it adds to your living income when you're an older guy.
A monthly check is always good. I don't care how much it's for.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter who it's from.
That's right.
I'll take it from illegal immigrants.
Well, they make you jump through all the hoops when you're applying for Medicare and all that stuff. That's the tough job.
Well, and you have to have worked and put money into the system.
Yes, but getting it is not as cheap and as easy as people, I think, believe when they're young.
Well, make sure that you sign up for it in a timely manner. Now, Medicare, as we talked about several months ago, if you don't sign up within that 3 months on either side of your birthday, you get fined.
You get penalized for the rest of your
You
life.
get penalized
That's right.
for the rest of your immortal life. Your immortal life. I don't
Every
know.
one of your checks will be smaller if you don't make that 3-month window. It's amazing, but that's true.
It's true. And your Social Security, you kind of automatically get that, but you still have to register and do a few things, go through a few hoops, like Ken said. And by the way, they do take your Medicare, your deductible and your front end fees.
Your $174.
Yeah, they take that out of your Social Security, so you can't stiff them. They get it before you get it.
Yeah, but we're adding kind of a problem when they change that, because now you don't get the check. At least if you were born in 59, when I was, you don't get your check until you're 66, but they get you on Medicare now. So now you got to remember to send them the money every month.
Yep, you got to do it. And then once you get your Social Security, they take it out of there and make sure you pay.
But you're still paying for your C plan yourself or whatever you got,
Well, you've got a premium to pay with A and B, and then your D plan, I think, is your drug plan. Your C plan is if you get on the Medicare Advantage.
Yeah, supplemental kind of thing. Yeah,
that's yeah. So it's a little convoluted, and that's why they have these brokers that can help you tell you what's the best to do for you.
And you got 3 months on your 65th birthday. You have 3 months to do that as well if you want to do it.
But I mean, you're a smart guy, Ken, so you figured this out on your own.
I talked to everybody I knew who was on Medicare before I made any decisions. Yeah. Because it's a little complicated.
It is complicated, and it's also complicated what the president's trying to do with money that has been allocated for the border wall, and he's still fighting with Texas. I guess he dropped his threat to send troops down there because the Texans said, "Come on, we'll put our National Guard on the border. We'll see who's tougher."
And we'll find out the answer to that question next week, because we got about 20 seconds left here, Doc. Just enough time to give the phone number a couple times.
I'm Dr. Bill, your radio MD, 727-384-6411, 727-384-6411. We are at 6399 38th Avenue North in St. Pete, Florida, Ken. We are your one-stop body shop. Come and
Say
see.
bye, Doc.
Bye, Doc.
WGUL, NW229DJ Dunedin. Powered by Prosperity Group. Contact Greg Ellie today at 864-989-0176.
Experience the best selection